Wow. Wow, what a week. What a week. I'm telling you, man, that was probably the strongest beginning to end KMS that ever with Mick and Al. That was because they were at each other for the whole... First of all, Nick's got a kinetic energy. Mick has a kinetic energy that was absolutely locked onto his brother the entire time. He is a true study in psychology and a grievance science. Holy hell! But we're not going to start there. We're going to get to that.
Okay.
I want to start with Mutt first.
Okay.
So
Also a case study,
yes, it is,
but
and
it's something different.
It's remarkable. It's remarkable. Mutt this week. I mean,
Mutt's like a case study in radio people. Like that's
a certain type of radio person. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. It's incredible too because it's hard. Like the cliche in radio was when I first got in, and we're talking got in as the receptionist,
right.
Which in there, my boss, the controller, was then he was like very, very adamant. He said, "You better not be trying to get into programming here and just using this as a stepping stone." And of course, I said, "No, I'm not." But of course, I was like everybody.
Like everybody who works in the radio building all wants to be on air.
Exactly.
That's the draw. Nobody would do it if there weren't a chance to get on air. Nobody would be like producers or street teamers or any of these things if they didn't think they had a shot at becoming on-air talent. Because the pay sucks. It's demeaning. Like the whole thing is stupid. Nobody would do any of these jobs if it weren't like a brush with fame and getting to be close to being on air. Like would, nobody is like, you know what? I'm going to set out in life to be a street teamer. Like,
right,
that's nobody's dream. It's so stupid.
No, all those other jobs are ways for you to get noticed as being one of the employees who doesn't suck, which might get you a shot at a better role, which might get you a shot at a better role, which might get you. Absolutely, and like there are only, you got to think in every market there's probably only 15 or 20 like good contracts for people in programming. But that's it. Other than like Kirk and Jerry and Ordway and those guys all have.
Well, and it depends exactly what type of programming you're talking about. I mean, like the DJ gigs, I assume are like totally gone at this point.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
like
they do
people
some voice
who
tracking.
Just, like people who just like intro the next song. Like that's not a thing people don't do that as a career anymore. No,
it's funny.
Like do they pay anybody a full-time salary anywhere to do that, even in big markets?
I don't know. I mean, you'd sell around a personality in Morning Drive, so maybe a little bit.
But Morning Drive is usually a talk show, not like a music show, right? It's like a Maddie in the Morning or a Lauren and Wally type of thing, right?
You'd know. I've never listened to Maddie in the Morning. Only heard cuts when he got interesting. When he
True
got fired.
confessions. I used to listen to Ramiro and Pebbles in the morning because I hated
terrible,
Maddie in the morning.
terrible.
So if I was lifeguarding during that time, which was what I did, and all I had was the stupid radio, I much preferred Ramiro and Pebbles over Maddie in the morning because Maddie in the morning was like old to me.
Right. Well, then again, you were a blonde girl from Lexington. So
and Don Imus, forget that. I was not listening to
radio,
that.
But... So anyway, Mutt actually, worked in a couple of small markets. For some reason, went to school for radio into UConn. I don't know. I never understand. If you're going to radio, anybody would go to college. You can go to Connecticut School Broadcasting and get an internship and start from there. And if the idea is whatever. This is not Tom Shattuck, guidance counselor. Anyway. So he obviously got into EEI, doing flashes and this and that. Very ESPN kind of workman-like. Good driver of shows, mechanics, good mechanics. These guys are a dime a dozen, of course. And finally gets a gig on EEI. I think one of the reasons why he did so well there, or at least stuck around for as long as he did, is that I've never met him, but everybody I know who knows him say he's an awesome guy and maybe like the best guy in the city. Like, truly quality dude. But so now he's been out of a gig for 2 years or something?
A while. I forget. Yeah. It doesn't seem like 2 years, but maybe.
And I don't know. And this is a very common thing in radio is that your wife makes the good money, including now kind of in this house, or the better money anyway. Well, I mean, so, but he's unemployed, and he's within 1-2 degrees of Dave Portnoy, who said his name Mutt has a skill set that works for Barstool. He's a sports guy, and he's a broadcasting guy, and he's a gambling lover. I mean, he's absolutely made for Barstool.
Right, the pitch writes itself. You don't have to do a lot here because
Kirk has been trying to almost force him into meeting with Portnoy to do this, get something here, to get a career. Mutt has a young family. He needs income. But there's this reticence, and it's just freaking crazy to me.
So, like, I mean, what do you have to say for yourself about this Portnoy thing? I mean, what are we doing here?
What Portnoy thing?
Yeah.
Oh, this is...
Mike, hold on one second. By the way...
Thanks, David Maryland?
I didn't get a chance yet to listen to... watch Mike with Drips in the Office. Mike was very critical of Mutt during that.
I'm disappointed.
I didn't think so.
I don't think I was very critical.
Very disappointed.
He should be staying today for the Unnamed show. He should demand bully his way out.
Mike is absolutely right. And Mutt knows that to get into radio, he must have had to do going for it. You have to go for it. And sometimes or maybe even most of the times when you go for it, sometimes you look like a jackass. But you've got to go for it. And now you've got a chance at Barstool, which is unlike the terrestrial radio business, where I bet you Mutt would take a job, is growing. Right. Barstool is an institution that is growing. Portnoy is indefatigable. The guy is only going to expand.
Right.
And they're doing good and interesting things. It's a place to truly be validated in the demo. So it's amazing, this reticence to even entertain the idea of doing. Everybody's trying to get him this job, and Mike's right. Mike knows what it took to get on the Kirk show. Mike has scratched and clawed to make the Blind Mike project successful, so he's making serviceable money every month, etc.
Right.
Everybody
anybody who's in that industry is either working hard or coasting on a long-term legacy that's going to be over soon.
Yes.
Right? That's the only two types of people that are in the industry right now. Everybody's either totally grinding to earn any kind of living out of radio, or they're like a Howie Carr who has been around forever.
And by the way, is totally grinding.
Yeah, no, Howie definitely is grinding, and his wife is grinding, and the other people around him are grinding, right? He's also grinding, but the reason why he's Howie Carr, and he could coast if he wanted to, the reason why, somebody like Maddie at the Morning was able to squeeze a few more years out of his career is because they are who they are, and they have this long-term, years-long legacy that allows them to do that, and the radio company knows that they're not going to be paying them for that many more years, right? They'd never pay a new person in that role that kind of money.
Right.
It's never going to happen. This is not radio is not where anybody's going to make any money extremely soon.
Yes.
Because the people who are making a lot of money are going to retire and be gone. Well, this isn't anybody's career, but it's weird because Mutt has this thing, and so this part, I don't know if you cut this or not, but this part of the conversation was interesting to me, where they were saying well, is there a number that you would take from Barstool? And he was like, no, and he said, $700,000, you'd say no, and he said, well, a realistic number, but if he's thinking he's gonna get a radio gig, those are all stupidly low numbers, right?
Well, what do you mean?
I mean,
a radio gig?
Well, so he was saying I wouldn't take any realistic number, right? He's not going to offer me $700,000. And he said, well, $65,000. And he said, well, that's a realistic number. But that's also realistic to what probably somebody's going to pay you in radio right now.
Oh, totally.
But do you think if a radio company offered him that, he'd take it?
60?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, to do an on-air gig on a station in Boston.
So do you think it's a fear of change? A fear that because he's a very competent on-air guy now, do you think that he feels he doesn't have the talent for...
No, I don't think it's a fear of change, and I don't think it's not feeling like he has the talent. I think that it's fear of not being seen as legitimate. That radio,
I see.
That if you're on a radio show and somewhere like EEI, for all that it's crap.
I see, with key cards and mic flags and,
this
and
is
broken down
this
vans
is
in
a
the
real
parking lot.
Job.
Yeah.
People think you are somebody if you have your own show at WEEI, the flagship Red Sox station, that seems important to people. You seem like you have a real job. You don't have to be embarrassed when you tell your wife's friends what you do for a living. But if you're a Barstool Sports blogger, then you get probably similar pay to what people hosting a show on WEEI make, but you get none of that like legitimacy and seriousness and like cocktail party cred in, I don't know, what town does Mutt live in?
Still,
I don't know.
Near Lowell. He's in Methuen, is it? Maybe where Jerry's from. Wasn't Jerry from Methuen?
I don't know.
No, it's not Methuen. It's
Chelmsford?
Chelmsford, yeah, that's right.
But like there's no like cred to that. I mean, there's credit working at Barstool for like young people, I feel like Clemmer, you know.
Clemmer's older than Mutt.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Mutt has kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I say young people, I'm not speaking in terms of years necessarily as much as I'm talking about like where you are in life. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
God, I can't imagine thinking that way though. Thinking that way, look, it's not 2004 anymore.
It's not.
I mean,
but people,
those days are over.
It's not. But I think Mutt. It's.
Like
he's
most of us who are in
worried
talk
that he'd
radio,
be less important than Kirk. You know?
Well,
that's what he said.
Less
in the
important
thing.
than Kirk.
Yeah, but he thinks he's
Kirk
not because
theater,
he had like a real radio job, you know?
Where he was far less important than Kirk.
No, I know.
God, that's...
But it's on a different measuring scale. So he
being...
can come in and be on KMS and feel like I'm somebody.
Oh, I see. So he's frozen in amber as a real radio guy.
Yeah. So
if
you
go... risk that.
Yeah, if you go somewhere else, now all of a sudden you're not a real radio guy.
Oh, you're a Barstool guy.
Right.
Oh, man. That's like low Chelmsford self-esteem stuff.
I don't know.
He thinks he's better than though. He's got that attitude.
You think that?
Like,
You think he thinks he's better than? I guess you're right. I guess maybe.
I don't even know that it's that he thinks he's better than. I think he's scared of how people would see him. You know.
I understand what you're saying. I just don't understand.
Because there's cred to it. I mean, like, and I say this as somebody who's outside radio, and like when I tell people you're on radio, they're like impressed. Like, I don't know. When I told someone a while ago that I make more money than you, and they were like, "How is it possible that you in a marketing job make more than Tom?" And I was like, "Do you know what people at radio get paid? It's not actually hard at all to make more than Tom. It's like very easy to make more than
Thankfully,
Tom.
I thought
a lot of people make more than Tom.
Thankfully, I thought to be fat enough for Awaken 180 weight loss to sponsor me.
I don't.
You don't want to work at Barstool.
Full time? No, I don't think I want to work at Barstool full time.
So if Dave offered you a job full time with a good salary, you would say no.
Here's the issue. I have stuff that you're gonna mock me for this. I have stuff that is scheduled to start this year with other companies.
Like what?
I'm not saying it's not announced yet, so I'm not saying. Okay, so that's fine. Whatever.
Stuff. What's this stuff? These are rinky-dink gig jobs somewhere.
Yeah, no, I'm like, well, I had 6 employers on my thing. Yeah, I also had a lot of employers a few years ago on my tax returns when I filed them, and they were like making bar pizza and working at Home Depot overnights. Like, it's not a sign that you're doing great if you have 6 different employers to file.
But also, you know what? Let's say you do have these gigs coming up. And this and that and here and there. And when I started like really doing a lot of filling in my radio station, I had a full-time job already. I was doing it because I thought, F this. This is probably a lifeline somewhere, which it was.
Right. Well, and if you hadn't got the job that you have now, like we were talking about last night when we were watching this, like what would you have even done?
Amazon delivery? Probably, maybe.
Yeah, you would be doing Uber, delivering Grubhub or something. Like,
yes.
We don't. If you hadn't got this radio gig, like, I guess you could have gone back into hotels.
Yeah, hotels, or I mean,
you could have done like PR.
That's where radio people,
where communications people go.
I don't have that. My ability to pretend to give about my clients would be palpable. I
have stuff that is with other companies.
But here's the other thing: if Dave Portnoy was interested in having a talk with me, I've got nothing in my skill set that works for Barstool.
Right.
I'm not a sports. I don't know gambling. I'm old. I don't know anything that's happening in the world of pop or culture or whatever.
Yeah, no.
I'm frozen in 1995.
Like, I like Jeff D. Lowe's trivia,
Yeah.
but I would not be an asset on anybody's trivia team. Like,
No.
I know none of those
But
questions.
that
I
said-
know no pop culture,
But,
no
but at the
sports.
same time,
like,
if you had heard that Portnoy was interested in having a conversation with you,
obviously, I'd meet with him. I'm not sitting here going,
of course, like who wouldn't? Or like any of these people, Pat McAfee or the Bill Simmons or like anybody, even though ostensibly there's nothing that you obviously you graduate, you go towards where the opportunities might be. It's
but I don't know if, yeah, I think Mutt has a chip on his shoulder about it. I do. About not necessarily Barstool per se, but about like what rung on the ladder he would be on at Barstool if he accepted a job. Do you see what I mean? Like, it's not that, like Dave Portnoy would be fine at the cocktail parties, like if you're Dave Portnoy or if you're Kirk Minahan, right? But like if you're,
I see.
I don't even know the people in the office, Jersey Jerry, like, I mean, like.
Oh, he doesn't want.
What do you tell the teacher at the parent-teacher conference? Like.
Yeah, especially since like you're way under Frank the Tank,
right?
Especially if you just got in.
Well, and that's why the question, like, well, would I be working for you?
Right. Well,
is
we're
like
gonna get
I
to that
don't want
in a
to be
second. Hold
that.
on.
Yeah.
Gambling adjacent that I've already agreed to before there was any sort of merger with Penn and DraftKings. I'm not sure what you'd like me to do other than to tell the truth. You're annoyed by that? That's fine. I'm appreciative that Dave in Maryland continues to jump in the Rumble chat and text away at Dave, and Dave responds. I'm a huge fan, but...
Huge fan of who?
You. And Barstool.
David Maryland? What
Yes, thank you, David in Maryland, for creating this buzz.
He's good.
It's all David in
great,
Maryland. It's
yeah.
one guy in the Rumble chat. And
I
Dave
see
sees
lots
it.
of Mutt to Barstool tweets.
There's not. There's just not. It's one guy.
I don't think that's true.
Thank you, Dave. I met David in Portland. He's a very nice guy.
What is he trying to put this to bed for? Oh, it's so aggravating. Then Kirk asks him, Mutt asks Kirk a question, and this is also shocking. This is about feelings. Who's got time for feelings?
Is there any scenario of this where you're sort of my boss? You are my boss.
Would you like that or not
No,
want
fuck no. I cannot do that.
that? Why? I'd be your boss if I wasn't anyway.
So I thought that was because he knows him and knows he's impossible to work for.
I mean, that's also true.
Sure, but what you're saying is...
He comes in right now, and in his mind, he's coming in like, I'm an equal to this. Like,
Because-
I'm coming in like Jared Carrabis or Jeff D. Lowe comes in,
Okay.
where I'm like on par with
I
Kirk.
gotcha.
And if I come in and I'm like below Kirk on the pecking order, then that's like bad.
I get you. Okay, because yes, so he wants to be there was a time when both
He has
of them
legitimacy.
There was a time when both of Kirk and Mutt were both on the masthead or on the marquee,
Right.
and now he wouldn't be.
He can't be under Kirk in the setup of
Oh,
how things
that is
go.
petty.
If you were in Boston.
Or no.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm the reason.
No.
I'm the reason Mutt's like.
I'm going to do this.
This is also
Well, it's
true.
but it
Hurtful,
doesn't
but
matter.
true.
But I'm just saying, like, I don't. You're. Here's the thing about you. You're resistant to try because you're afraid you're going to look silly. That's what it comes down
Yes,
to.
I've been
Yeah,
very
look
resistant
silly.
to look silly for things
It's-
you've asked me
It's
to
not.
But do you think that's it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's about how it looks. That's my
amazing.
opinion.
I mean, I would understand maybe even. I mean, he's not even 40, I think, or maybe he's 40.
I think
I'm-
they said on the show how old he is. They argued about it because he said he's 44, I think.
Is he
And
that
he
old?
said, yeah, he said he's in his early 40s. And they were like, no, you're not. You're 44. That's your mid 40s.
Given the agreements that I have coming up that are not tied to their new gambling partner, that's the issue.
These
like, I
people-
want to do this
these
gambling
peop-
show.
These people would be happy to if you said,
No,
hey,
but they're-
if you said, hey, I got a full-time job at Barstool, I'm doing horse racing stuff. I'm sure they would say, good luck.
You know what? And here's another thing, Alice. Not only is he reticent to be an underling,
Yeah.
but where's this gambling show been for the last 2 years?
Yeah, anybody can put out a show. It doesn't require.
He's been unemployed.
That
Like,
was
what-
another thing that was interesting is because he wanted to come in and like use Kirk's studio to do
Yeah.
stuff if he did something for Barstool because like the quality or whatever. Like, it's so insane to me like the way people think about this stuff, like that they have to have all this setup and stuff to do. Like he's writing one Mutt stack a week right
Yeah,
now.
That's amazing. I have to write 2 editorials per day.
Right.
But between meetings and all management stuff, it's ridiculous. it's. I don't get it. Like, where's this? How come nobody's producing anything? Especially these people. Well, he's got 2 kids, and I understand there's kids sports, but he's unemployed.
Right.
And he's been a radio guy who's worked in small markets. He knows how to just yap away.
But I feel like it's that romantic comedy I like, the Win a Date with Tad Hamilton
Yes.
movie. You know how when the like actor guy who's played by Josh Duhamel is like depressed and everything, and he's like saying he's unemployed, and they're like, "You're not unemployed. You're between multi-million-dollar paydays." And I feel like, Mutt feels like that. Like, I'm not really unemployed. I'm working, or at least this is what he tells himself. I'm like working on these things that are I'm really enjoying like being independent right now on Mutt's
Mutt is once a week. The main wire, that's Steve and maybe 3 other people put out a newsletter every morning.
Right.
And that's over and above.
With like articles that they're reporting on and like going through city council meetings and public records requests and like all kinds of things. They're doing like journalism work. Mutt's writing a blog post a week.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I don't get it. I don't get it. I think it's very interesting. It's quite psychological quirk.
So maybe we'll all have egg on our face when he announces his new gig in a couple of weeks. 2 weeks from Wednesday? In a week and a half now, he'll announce and he'll be doing something really amazing that's going to put us all to shame with some incredible
Maybe
gig.
there's also
He said it's a once a week show, so it doesn't sound like a full-time gig to me either necessarily.
We'll do a show for his network too. But it is kind of interesting that this. I bet you that he would be far more likely to get a job in PR. That way, his radio legacy.
Mm-hmm. His ego would be soothed by that.
Yes, that was his thing.
It still feels important.
Right. Interesting. Well, good luck. We'll meet him someday, I think, Alice.
But it is fascinating to me because radio, we meet people all the time who like briefly worked in radio. Like we know somebody in town who was a producer at your station at one point in time. And it's like everybody who works in that industry has to come to some kind of fork in the road where it's like, I'm either going to do this or I'm not, because there's not a lot of jobs in it.
Well, but I would also say that, and especially with producers, there are multitudes of untalented, unmotivated producers out there who, wanted to, and when I was at RKO, just these are dudes who wanted to be at AAF, but just fell into RKO because that was the only thing left.
Right.
And everybody wanted to be at the rock station or in sports, at the sports station. Mm-hmm. And like they would come to us if none of that worked out on WRKO, the talk station. But there's a lot of sucky producers out there. Most of them are bad. And the ones who are like good get to be on air people pretty quickly. Most of them. Some just don't. They're all nuts too. So that's another thing. Okay, let's get to Mick and his brother Al. Once again, this is the kinetic energy around Mick of this grievance thing that he has going is incredible. Now, it makes him a really compelling, interesting guy. Right. It really does, because anything can happen. You just never know. Anybody like Mick's uniquely
he is like fueled by resentment and anger.
Oh yeah,
like that's what keeps him going.
Somewhere, even when a bird
sings,
it.
I'm Team Mick.
Yeah, it's somewhere like if a bird sings, Nick feels somehow Mick feels like somehow somebody's fucking sticking it to him. Somehow somebody got one over on him, but now that's why he's angry. That's why he's on. That's why he's roiling over constantly. That said, his brother's sticking it to him.
Yeah, definitely.
And well, you're going to get into like why his brother is an instigator in a little bit. I want to start with a few cuts here. First, Kirk asking about his relationship with his girlfriend Jessica. This is a mixed relationship. Jessica,
are you actually single, or is this like a pause?
Single. Oh, yeah, that's it.
Just done.
Yeah. She's in Cancun right now. Still.
You broke up with her? She's in Cancun?
No, it was before.
Oh, I got you.
We were supposed to go to remember the show, the New York after
right?
Portland. Yes. And we were supposed to go to New York.
Did not happen.
The week after Portland, we were kind of like...
Well, that's too bad.
Her going to Cancun without him was her breaking up with him. You don't just go... I mean, if you've been together 7 years, if you're together 7 years, and you're not married yet, and you're doing stuff separately, then you're on the rocks. It's done.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand people who date that long and don't get married.
I don't either. Because you're taken. You're just not doing anything as a partner or in challenging yourselves anymore. But yeah,
You would think like there would be tax advantages alone to getting married at that
but
point.
it's
I
funny
don't
because in one of the very few ways that he seems secure in this show is when he talks about his girlfriend. He seems like fairly certain she's not having sex with anybody in Cancun or whatever like that. If it were my girlfriend, I would be fairly certain she was.
Sorry to hear that. You seem like a nice person.
Yeah,
you guys
it's
will stay in touch or no?
I don't think that's probably the best idea for me. I don't do well with
Correct.
Okay, that seems
it. You
reasonable.
can imagine I don't.
Yeah.
I don't talk to many of my ex-girlfriends.
How do you feel about this breakup, Al?
Well, I mean, he's 28. He's been with her for 7 years.
Right.
The last one was when he was 21.
Yeah, so he was a child.
Yes.
I
Well,
mean,
you didn't tell
like-
my mom. My mom found out from the podcast. I got a quick.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got a quick little story. So
You didn't send me a text or anything. No one in this room except for Coleman.
Well, yeah, but notice Al says this. I got a quick little story. So Al came with ammunition to unload on Mick. I have a
Right.
quick little story to show you that Mick's a fuck up, by the way, but quick little one.
The only person that said support was Coleman. So
No
please.
heartbreak.
That's my own brother.
What was I going to do?
7 years.
Was I going to text
You
you?
could say something. Hey, I hope everything's cool.
This
I
is another
found-
thing that's great about Mick is that his relationship breaks up after 7 years, and he does an audit of who's reaching out or not. That's right where he is.
from the podcast too. You didn't tell anybody.
Yeah, it's not true.
So my mom.
I didn't know if it was. I'm sorry. I didn't know if it was a hey, we're taking a break, or so I had I known that it was really over.
But he
I would
knew- he
definitely
knew.
sent you a long
Yeah.
message.
Yeah. I knew you guys were having problems, but I didn't.
No,
know
you knew,
were
Al. You
officially
knew.
gone.
You didn't say anything. That's okay. It's fine.
All right, so my mom.
It's
went,
fine. Seems like it's fine.
It's fine with
my
him.
mom came over
It's
to
all-
Mick's house the other day and brought just like a little package of goodies, mom
well,
thing.
Christian's house.
Christian's house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
This
I mean-
is a shot at Mick right now. This is him tattling about his brother, which he does a lot of during the show.
Right.
For being fair, I mean,
Mick rents.
I think even Mick would say that.
Yep.
Yeah.
There was a gift in there for Jess.
From your mom.
Yes,
Oh,
from
that's
my
very
mom.
nice.
And Mick kind of, this was after the breakup, and Mick kind of took the card out and was just like, oh, and didn't say anything about the breakup and accepted this gift for Jess, but didn't say anything to mom about you guys being broken up.
During this time.
What was the
Mom-
gift, Al? If I might ask.
I think it was just a card, like a gift card or something.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very nice. So you stole the gift card.
No, it's just a Sephora thing. I couldn't do it, but I would have.
Yeah, I would have too. By
They
the
have
way.
been
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
at Sephora.
But no, yeah, there was no. We were figuring it out at that point. I don't think I have to stop my mom from what she's doing. Say, hey, mom, I'm figuring out me and Jess's relationship.
Okay, let's pause everything here before we get into flat tires and 638 and Sephora gift cards.
You laughed at that part on the podcast. Okay, so now Kirk asks a big question, which is like, where did this beef between you two guys? Where did this begin?
What is the genesis, do you think, of this tension? If you had to pinpoint it.
So, to be honest, I think like Mick and I grew up. I don't think you would disagree with this. Our parents were like grinders. My dad worked 2 jobs. My mom went to school.
Already upset.
What is wrong with that?
I can't even talk about that.
barely made it. We barely.
No, nothing like that. But again,
Mick, you're fine.
see, and so I think I kind of look at Mick and like, you don't have a job or you have a part-time job. You're coming up here, schlepping up and volunteering, and I'm just kind of like, what are you doing at this point?
You think he's a loser? Al?
No, I wouldn't say that.
Well, just say it. if you think
Because
he's a
our
loser.
parents worked hard. That offends you because I come and do this show. Is basically what.
But isn't he working hard? Is it by showing up here? Isn't he showing some resolve and some determination?
He sees none of that. No,
No,
he
I
sees
do,
none
but
of
it's
that.
like he's 28 years old now, and you've passed him over 3 times. So I'm just kind of like, what is the goal
Are you
here?
happy? Is everybody happy?
I'm just being honest. Like,
Not-
Fuck you.
I like
not
that he
3
says
times, not
he's
really.
28 years old now. Like,
Yeah.
he's an old man. He's got to start getting his life together.
Oh yeah, no, it's so well. Well, he goes on to take more parental tact as well.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to peace out here? And then
I'll go
come back?
take our daughter. Yes.
Okay,
I'll come back.
Alice is going to take our daughter to softball, and then I think the keys are hung up. I think, or on the counter. You can't, or on the table. It's in one of the places. Okay. Okay, I'm going to continue with more of this. Alice will be back in just a moment. I'll be back with more of this. With Al now kind of to get in full condescension mode.
Yeah. The first 2 times weren't really a thing.
the twice.
The Sacco thing you're
Twice,
saying?
2, and then for Justin.
Well, I guess Coleman,
And then Mick
Mick,
tried
and then
to-
Justin. You're right. 3
Yeah,
times. No,
yeah.
you're right. You're right. That's true. That is
When
true.
I'm mayor, I control what happens. That's
It feels that way, doesn't it? Oh yes. So okay.
So I think
But that That's the core issue between you two?
No. And
That's what I asked, Al.
Yeah. So I think the core is I do kind of, I think, Big Brother Mick a little bit, because I think deep down when I was like 13, 14, I wasn't that great to him. I kind of, maybe like beat on him, whatever.
This is a first. This is the first time I've ever heard
I'm being
this.
honest.
What's that?
Yeah.
So that's interesting. That time, Al comes up with a grievance that Mick didn't have on his multiple-page list of grievances. Scrolling through his mind seemingly nonstop.
This.
Well, but this is what we're doing here.
I know.
We're trying to-
I didn't expect this. Continue.
You
Sorry.
beat him up when he was
Yeah,
little?
I beat him up
Can
and
you
like
imagine,
get
I
away
wanna
from me
smack
and my
him.
friends. I don't
Right.
want to be around you. Yada
But
yada.
that's a big brother's
Yeah.
job.
So now I think that I'm getting a little
Kirk
bit.
makes a good point there. That is a Big Brother's job. It is all Big Brothers do this stuff. All Big Brothers torture their little brothers in their own way. And they've got a chip on their shoulder that you can only have from being the number one son, Ichiban. And number two always will try to find a way to compensate. I remember in my own life, my brother having great stories from my dad to tell my dad. And so, like, I didn't have any, and I used to just try to make some up, about experiences that I didn't really have, just to get his favor, just as kids. Like, Big Brothers have a certain power. And if I've known guys who can never get over it. But it's one of those things, man, where you got to try to shake it. At some point, you got to shake it. And also, by the way, Mick is, and they're going to get to a little bit more of this. Mick is short. He's 28. He's got a seasonal job. He doesn't have like a career job yet. In all fairness, I didn't really at 28 either. Mick's chasing a dream right now, and sometimes you have to, suck from 9 to 5 or whatever your job is, doing something you don't want to do while you're chasing the dream. So, but he's also talented. This is not a guy. This is a guy he's a talented guy. When Mick came in the studio the first time with those other dudes, like 4 years ago, whenever that was, I immediately thought, wow, this kid is sharp and strong-headed and had an ego and is like a little bit of an a-hole, like in a good way. I think he's talented as hell.
Older now, I'm kind of like, all right, not like look out for Mick, but it's like kind of kick him in the butt, get going.
Right.
And Mick, this is like the end of the
Hold on, Mick,
world for Mick.
Yeah.
God forbid I try to give him just like a little bit of ice or anything.
When Alice comes back, by the way, she's got a theory on this that is pretty freaking sinister on what's going on with Al.
Like that, and
gets
he takes
very-
it as a slight.
You feel like you're more successful than Mick in life.
I wouldn't even say successful. I think I've got my shit more together. than
Right.
Mick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you
If
think?
my uncle wanted a real office manager, he would be cutting grass. Like, truly. Like, I don't know. Like, if you really, like, I don't, Al doesn't have all of it figured out. He has a very,
No, I
he's a
don't.
very nice
I
wife.
don't.
He's got a nice house. Yeah, sure. But, like, I mean, he's as big a fraud as anybody.
But I'm trying.
Well, we're all frauds, though, Mick. And like you said, he's trying. That's right. We're all frauds. I mean, nobody is good at anything, really, is what I've seen. I don't know. I'm 51.
Why? What do you mean? He's a fraud?
I know, how
Again,
am I a
he
fraud?
presents himself like this great guy. If you were some great guy, you would support your brother no matter what.
But
You're like, oh, I got to give him advice. I have to lecture him.
What should I do? What should I do?
where's he not supporting you though? Like I
The
understand
whole podcast since the very before this.
beyond average.
Oh, he's hated it. The first
I find this. Sometimes Big Brothers can be passive-aggressive. And going after the thing Mick loves is a way of attacking Mick without directly attacking Mick. So he's attacking the podcast. Of course, Mick loves that, so Mick feels attacked when he's doing that. But that way Al gets to say, look, I didn't attack you. Just saying, who the fuck would listen to you? It sucks.
Never tell me who would want to listen to you on the air. It was being dead serious.
But I wasn't the first.
No,
Oh.
that's why I was ready for it.
It's disappointing.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was being. We did a podcast. I tried to find the audio coming in here today. But we did a podcast on a little one microphone, the four of us, and Al was trying
Who's
to
the fourth?
Casey, the one who lives next door.
Okay, yeah.
He's a show. I don't know if he's a Minifan, but he listens to the show every now and
Go ahead, continue.
then. And Al was very just open about how nobody would want to hear you on a podcast, whether it be interviewing someone or anything like that.
But you meant you or us?
No, specifically me.
Mick.
Yeah, it was me.
Yeah.
Oh.
Which is, Mick feels strongly about the podcast. So he's really hitting them with a dagger there. It's like he's devoting his own. Mick's podcast is. This is going to be a tough term to hear, and I'm mad at myself for using it. It is creative art. The stuff he's coming up with and saying, and the thoughts and takes, and the creativity, he's putting himself out there. So to take incoming fire when you do that from your own brother, like, that's tough stuff, man. Especially since he loves it. You don't have to tell him you don't that you think it's good if you don't think it's good. But he's going after it. He's doing stuff. He's putting stuff out there. He gets all sorts of criticism, obviously, from the Minifans and other people online. He doesn't seem to give a shit. Seems to take that just fine. But, from within the family, that's pretty tough. They've got a baby coming along soon. Just wait. Wait, Al, till Mick uses an around-the-way of criticizing how you're bringing up the baby. You get pretty effing offended when people take a shot at your creative product.
Again, it was Mick trying to say, like, this is going to be his career. And I was just
No, it
trying to...
wasn't.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't.
Does this want to be your career? Yes or no? Do you
At
want
the
this to be your
time, do you
career?
think this was
when you
way
started
before?
the podcast?
Yeah, but this was when I started
You're
the
like,
podcast.
I want to try and go down this career path of being a podcaster.
No.
Move to
And I
Austin.
tried... Yes,
Al.
right, exactly. Moved
Al,
to New
you
York.
no, that was so long before. You guys got to know your facts. I started Beyond Average because I wanted to contribute. I want to show a show that I could contribute to it, a real show, such as KMS or wherever.
Yep.
So I would say that worked.
You don't have a job.
No, but I would say just to get in.
determined that was a lie.
I don't agree with that. I think Mick's good. I mean, I would love to have Mick be part of this in a full-time position one day. That could definitely happen. I mean, I'm not, I don't know.
I think Kirk's absolutely right. He doesn't have a job, but he's in the club. He's in that club. He's in and out of that studio all the time. People with credibility, people with prestige, including Kirk, like him and enjoy him. So yeah, it takes something to get this far, to do that 2-hour trek back and forth. Yeah, that is good. He's made it. I mean, he hasn't made it, but it's not nothing to get where he is. And it's one of those things where I think that you forget about. I mean, I think Mutt has forgotten, in what an advantageous position he is in for some reason, which we just talked about. But no, it's not nothing. There are people, thousands of people know Beyond Average Mick now who didn't. And yes, some of that is simply because Kirk put the Klieg lights on him, but also some of that is because his creative product, the masses like.
So if your son was...
Oh, this is tough. This is tough by Al. Talk about patronizing.
So if your son was almost 29 years old.
Harry's
See, again,
29.
Why do you look at the world like that, though? Like, that's such a... Like, I'm not asking you. I'm not your son. I'm not his son. Stop thinking like I'm his son.
Are you Beyond Average Al or just Al?
I'm average Al now.
You're
Just
average Al. Yeah, I would say you're average Al. Oh, you used to tweet all the time at the... Yeah, very annoying.
For Mick.
Very annoying.
On Mick's behalf.
That is true, by the way, Mick.
It was
I've said
never
that.
for anybody else but Mick.
Yeah, you've been critical of the show, too.
That's fine. People. So have you?
No, not really.
Never?
Sure, but like, not often.
Okay, anyway, go ahead.
That Mick doesn't miss a shot, by the way. It is a volley when he's in there. He's not letting anything get him past him, especially from his brother.
Al.
Not on air.
Right, well, that's a good point, yeah. Al, go ahead.
I don't even. He pissed me off so much. I don't even remember what I was
Harry's
saying.
29.
If Mick was 20, if Harry was 29 years old and he was schlepping up, I don't know, a couple times a month, 200 miles, like you said, round trip, had a seasonal job, you wouldn't be like, hey, let's kind of.
I'd be mortified.
Right.
Yeah, I'd be mortified.
And Mick, for some reason,
I wouldn't be mortified if my kid was 29 and had a dream and he wanted to be an artist or something like that. As long as he was, actually had another job somewhere, it'd be fine. Okay, put your time in. At some point, you're probably going to want to, or at some point, a woman is probably going to want to marry you, and she's going to want you to have something to talk about.
They give him a little bit of advice, and it's a problem.
As are Mick's parents, I'm sure.
Yes.
But Mick does have ambition. Like he does what he's doing. He's trying. He's trying.
Yep.
He's grinding away.
Yeah, absolutely, he's grinding away, and some of these things take time. Now, certainly, I think the highlight of yes, I guess the biggest psychological deep dive we take is Mick's handling of the $200. This gets diverted, of course, into the wedding gig from a little bit ago, but this is just, oh man, his mind is at work here.
Explain to me the $200 from your perspective.
Okay, yeah, you almost had it. So it was me. It wasn't my wife, but we were walking out. I was like, oh, I got to leave Mick a little bit of money here.
Right.
My thought process was...
After I told you not to, by the way.
Right.
I forgot to mention that on the
100%. My thought
Before,
process
the week
was...
before, I said, you don't have
So if you, I know everybody here has watched or listened to the show, but if for anybody who for some reason hasn't, it is he's going over there and house sitting for the anaconda or whatever snake he's got, and for 4 days, and Al left Mick enough $200, which is a pretty generous thing, nice bit of money. But Mick thinks it's another stick it because he's paranoid.
I mean, don't do that.
My thought process was he was staying there for 4 nights,
Right.
$50 a night. He
That
can
seems-
eat out lunch and dinner.
That
yada,
seems very
yada.
nice. That seems
taking
right,
my
right,
dogs
Coleman?
out.
Definitely.
Completely
yeah.
reasonable.
Justin? Yeah.
Completely
Okay.
reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's more to it.
The 100.
Well, maybe we'll
Well,
find
there's
out.
another thing is that if you give him $200, he's really going to do it, not fuck off. Which you're going to make sure that the dogs are out and that the anaconda eats its daily rat or whatever it is. So, that would be to incentivize. Okay, now you're being compensated for it, Mick, just in case you decide to no-show like you wanted to at the wedding or like you bailed it on Kirk's show. So, you got no problem with that. And I'll have more in a second.
The $100 thing was, I came home and I was like, you got to be kidding me. He took $100 and left
is
the
funny.
other 100 there.
He's psycho.
Like
That is for Mick, come on, dude. Either make a stand or don't make a stand. Don't kind of make a stand. Like you can't buy me, I'll take 100. But other than that, this other 100's not buying me.
vintage Mick. So it was kind of a little mind game at first because about a year and a half ago, Mick and I had another blowout where we didn't talk for probably 2 months. This was one of the worst ones we've ever had.
What was
I
this
think.
over?
The bartending thing for the wedding. So
Mick
was supposed to bartend my
did. What are you
brother-in-law's
supposed to?
wedding.
I did.
Right? It was a back
Supposed to. You just tell the story.
Your wife's brother got
Yes,
married.
yeah, backyard wedding. They're younger, trying to do
Down
like
the Cape?
yeah, down on the Cape, trying to do it. It was at the brother-in-law's house, and Mick agreed months before to do the bartending.
That's a nice gig,
Yeah,
Mick.
definitely for sure.
Yeah.
So
Well, you agreed to do it, Mick.
Yeah, that was good.
Why did you say no then?
It was good. It was good. Minimum wage is good. Go ahead.
he agreed months before, right?
Yeah.
So the day of the wedding, he texts me in the morning.
I love that. Look, minimum wage is good. You agreed to it, Mick, for freak's sake. You're also doing the family a favor. You're doing the family a favor. Come on, man. Then don't agree to it if you don't want to. You cannot. This is acting like an irresponsible little brother. This kind of thing gives Al a clear shot. You freaking agreed to it. You're doing the family a solid. You shouldn't have probably accepted money for it. Or at least nominally said, no, you don't have to pay me. And then when Dad comes over or when Mike comes over, if you can reluctantly take it. But you're doing it for somebody as a favor because you're the only dude who's a real bartender.
And hey, I don't know if I'm going to make it.
Unbelievable.
This is the guy that's supposed to bartend the entire wedding. Close to 100
And
people.
come on, Mick, just because you're hungover, come on, man. That is, you just freaking tie one on again or something. There are ways that people manage to get around through this, as I take it truly, as from dealing with being hungover and still getting to work. That is like the rule. You gotta. In the big boy world, when I worked at EEI, like the sales crew, those guys absolutely played hard. And they worked hard, so they played hard, and they came in banged up the next morning, and they would never have banged in sick from a
Right, that's like the difference between the functioning and the non-functioning alcoholic.
Yeah, I guess so. You need a little bit of Mad Men here, but not Freddie all the time.
I was on a bachelor party. You knew I was away. I said, Al, I'm not sure what's going on here. Would it be a big deal if I didn't go?
The day of.
That's on you.
The day of.
That's
Day
you,
of.
Mick.
The day of.
And who bartended?
Day of. Oof.
What?
Mick.
But why would you?
Late.
But
I was saying, Alice, that what Al does is he'll criticize Mick's podcast when he's really meaning to criticize Mick. So that way he can
Right.
say, so I didn't attack him, but he's attacking him. It's a bank
Of
shot.
course.
I was late. I asked.
You were late for the
Yeah,
wedding?
he was late.
No, Al.
Yes, you were. You missed the whole cocktail hour.
Al, do you want me to tell the
Which
real-
is the bartender is generally the part where you want to be there.
That's when you are most needed. Ideally, the cocktail hour, and if there's going to be a martini, if there's going to be a champagne toast at some point, maybe the end is a good time too.
That being said, I don't like when people get family members to do stuff for their weddings on the cheap but then don't agree to it. You know what I mean? If you agree to it, then you have to do it.
I'd do it if you in a jam like your sister needed someone to bartend. I'd freaking have a ball doing it. I used to bartend for your political
Oh, sure,
functions.
but lots of people plan ahead for that
yeah, no,
and hire a real
Yeah, but
if you don't want to deal
yeah, but Mick's a real bartender.
No, but if you don't want to deal with people not showing, family members calling in. Like, if you want to deal with professionals, then hire a professional, but it would probably cost more than Mick, right?
Yeah, but they also may have thought they were doing him a favor. Hey, Mick, want to
Maybe.
make it, you know?
Story?
Yeah. Yep. Go
Because
ahead.
that wedding was a shit show. They pushed that wedding back like hours, and that was the only reason why I was.
This is why Mick has a career doing some kind of podcast or whatever, because that is a freaking fiery thing to say about now the wedding takes an
Right.
RPG hit. It's like, wow, wedding was a shit show. Who cares if it's a shit show?
No, I was prepared to be on Mick's side about that because, I mean, like, I used to do makeup and I would get, like, annoyed when people would ask me to do wedding makeup. People pay a lot of money for, and people, because they know you do it, would like ask you to do it on the cheap. Like, I don't know, I don't like that. I feel like it's sort of like weddings are super expensive, so people try to save where they can by like hiring family and friends to do things that cost a lot of money, and it's like annoying to me. So I was prepared to be on Mick's side about it, but it is like, don't agree to do it if you don't want to do it.
Right. And also, you know, I mean, for the shit show wedding, it seems like and we did this with our own wedding. It seems like they had a wedding without having a wedding.
Yeah, well, I don't accept responsibility for that because I didn't want to have a wedding, period.
Right.
So.
But we had to have some kind of party, and it was, Alice, a never-ending cavalcade of celebrities were there.
True.
Okay.
True. It felt very important.
Yes. But about the shit show wedding, so these people, like, they could have just had a table with bottles, you know, which would have been fine, but they wanted to feel like there was a bartender, so because we want it to feel like a wedding, but not pay for a wedding.
Like, it was because they pushed it back hours.
They pushed it back. No, they didn't.
Yeah. There's a lot going on that day.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot going on.
Yeah, there's a lot
But
going on
again,
that day.
A lot goes on at a wedding.
What was going on?
I don't know. Go ahead.
I don't know.
Well, I think you both know what was going on.
Nothing crazy. They were just trying to organize
People
the wedding
speaking out
themselves.
and-
So
When you
it's
say
like,
so, it wasn't like a
no, there was no crazy drama.
But it wasn't
or anything.
like
it was just a little
Like a
disorganized.
makeshift, you know.
what?
It's like a put together wedding.
That's what I
a
mean. It
backyard
wasn't
wedding.
like it was a small.
Yeah, exactly.
So all right. So Mick, that is again with the facts in front of Mick. I would say that is on you.
If I were to miss the wedding, I would agree, but I did not.
But why?
You tried
late.
to,
But my
Mick.
question to you was why even send that text if you're going to be there that
It was
day?
a long weekend. It was a long weekend. It was a bachelor party. I shouldn't have agreed to it knowing the bachelor
So Al,
party. was there. I agreed to it out of principle. 'cause
I was
like,
making drinks. I don't know. I've never made a drink in my life for anybody else, and I was.
and
Making
we know
drinks.
that.
Amazing how easy it is, right?
How
That's
beautiful.
also a low move. It's not hard to make drinks. You put the alcohol and the other stuff
Well,
in the cup.
Alice, I understand that, but at the same time, what a hit by Mick. What a hit by Mick.
Weekend. It was a long weekend. It was a bachelor party. I shouldn't have agreed to it knowing the bachelor
So Al,
party. was there. I agreed to it out of principle. 'cause
I was
like,
making drinks. I don't know. I've never made a drink in my life for anybody else, and I was.
and
Making
we know
drinks.
that.
Amazing how easy it is,
I
right?
know that. Which is a way for Mick saying that he's a prick, a bad host, is selfish, whereas Mick is, you know, goes and engages and makes everybody cocktails. You don't have to ask for one, and but that shows you that's from one. It's very the fact that Mick is looking for any
But
vulnerability.
I also love that Mick is like, and he does this a few times during the show this week, where he like drops a bomb and then walks away from it and refuses to elaborate.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Like, he did it about like, well, there was a lot going on that day. It was pushed back a few hours. I don't know. And then he's like, what do you mean? I don't know. I don't know. No, I don't mean anything by it. And he did the same thing about, what's it called? Who did he issued a warning to, it's escaping me.
I don't know. Warning. Mick issued a warning.
Yes. Later in the show. Shoot.
He issued a warning to.
He said like, to Gus, like, if you knew
that's
what
right.
I knew, or like kind of like this weird cryptic thing.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like,
He's
well,
got-
Gus, I would watch out if I were you, or something.
Yes.
And then like refused to say anything
Yeah,
about it.
there's
and I was like,
yeah.
what is it? And everyone was like, what do you mean? And he's like, I don't mean anything. And it's like, well,
You know.
obviously you meant something.
Bad
Can you
blood
tell us what you
accusations.
mean?
Why? You know what Mick is? He's very Trumpy.
If you agree to do it and you really like Al's wife, right?
Yeah.
Much more than Al, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Isn't that just a favor for her?
Yes, and that's
Okay.
probably why I agreed to it. And that is.
But then why do the Mick move of like reaching out that more and then bitching about the money and then
the money thing was completely separate. The bitching about
that's
not
nice of
going.
the father-in-law to throw you a little
It was
150 fazools, 40.
It was, but it was also gassed up like it was going to be It was very gassed up.
Oh, you expected big money.
He's just making lies.
I'm
now.
not somebody who can, again. I don't. What
were you thinking? What were you thinking?
First of all, can we establish this point that when it comes to transacting with Mick, whether it's emotionally, financially, professionally, there is no winning.
True. But I do feel like, and this is why I don't agree to do things for family members unless like the term, or friends or whoever, like unless the terms are set, especially for stuff like weddings that people make a lot of money for. He's saying like it was gassed up, but like didn't have specifics and then got $140. Like,
right.
If people ask, if Mick's a professional bartender, and I don't understand fully like the extent of to what degree he's like a professional bartender. Like I don't think he does events, right? Or maybe he does.
It's seasonal, so I think he works at a summer bar probably.
Okay. So anyway, I mean, but he like knows what drinks are and puts them together. Like if you are a bartender that does events like weddings and somebody asks you to do their wedding, then like tell them what your real rates are.
Sure.
Say like, okay, for a wedding for
but then again, Alice, if he
you know,
tells them what the real rate is, then he can't feel slighted.
Right,
and he lives
but then
to feel slighted.
You can avoid this type of like miscommunication and resentment and anger by setting terms and boundaries up front and saying, this is what I charge to do a backyard wedding. And if you want to be nice, you can say, you know, I charge $1,500 to do a backyard wedding, but for you guys, I like you, so I'll make it $800. And then you don't have to feel slighted because you can set your own terms and boundaries up front and be happy about it.
Yeah, but he wants to feel slighted. If he feels slighted, he feels angered. If he feels angered, he feels alive. Alice, this is what's going on here.
So what would you, if you had a bartender come to a wedding
for how many hours?
It was a good time.
It's his daughter's wedding.
Probably about 4 hours.
Celtics game right? 2, the finals too. I missed that.
About 3 hours. 3 hours.
4 hours?
Not even.
Look how many ways Mick got fucked on that day. Had to work hungover, underpaid, after being overpaid, misses a Celtics game.
Mm-hmm.
Game 2 of the finals.
People didn't tip well.
Missed that, and I'm sure now. So then also the price of doing business with Mick is you're going to hear all the ways that you fucking destroyed his weekend from him.
Right.
So it's going to leave a bad taste no matter what.
More than that.
You call this minimum wage?
More than
Are
that.
you familiar with what minimum wage is?
More than that.
4 hours max. Max 4 hours.
I would say
Let's
it was
call
like 2 to 8, 6 hours.
I'd give you. I mean, I would assume you do okay
6.
with tips. I would give you a couple $100, like $250 or something. I guess. No, we're supposed to give you $1 million.
I think 300 would be normal.
Okay, 300 would be normal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So say that up front.
Yeah, but also you got to do that for the cocktail hour. That's when they specifically need you.
Yeah, it does have cocktail in the name.
Jesus.
Yeah.
We're
40% of that.
So we
It's
go.
not 40%.
The day goes on.
140 is not 40%.
And you know Al, by the way, made shit-ass drinks during that cocktail hour just to show people.
That he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yep. And that Mick
Oh, can you
fucked us
tell me
all.
what's in that? What do I?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sorry, my brother was supposed to
I've
be
never
here.
made a drink for anybody in my life.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Because you know what? Al is Mick.
Just on meds.
That's exactly right. And this is Alice's take. Al is he's aggrieved too. He just shows you in a totally different way. Totally different way. But he wants you to know that he's gets fucked over too. He wants you to know that he's working for the uncle. You know, somebody has to. Mick's not gonna. Mick's I'm out working for my uncle, having a house, mowing a lawn, having a wife, having a baby, you know, because Mick's not doing any of those things. So I guess I'll be the adult for mom.
Text message the next day, saying that basically that Mick is slighted because he feels that he was taken advantage of, and we didn't value him enough to give him more money.
This is from Mick.
No, this was from Mick about my father-in-law.
Mick, do you have, like,
basically calling them cheap and yada yada. And
Do you think?
Which is exactly what he did. Exactly what he did. Which brings us back to the $200.
But this is how it goes, because then it's like, okay, now I leave him money and I'm trying to now help him out.
Oh,
so it's like,
with the snake.
Exactly. A year later, now I leave him money and it's also a problem.
That's a point.
That's a fair point.
I
can't win.
I think it was I told you not to do it and you did it anyways, and it was $200, which is a really weird number to leave.
$50 a night.
Not a weird.
Why is it a weird number? Anything he gives him is going to be considered weird. You gave me a weird number because you're up to something. You're trying to fuck me. At the same time, he's trying to fuck him. He knows that Mick's going to take this the wrong way.
Right. Always.
Yeah. He wrote Mick on the piece of paper. And suddenly you're paying off your brother. He knows his brother. He knows the mixed signals. They did not discuss this beforehand.
You think that's a
Well,
wife?
they did. He said not to give him money. But he gave him money anyway. And maybe that was part of the wife doing that, who's needs to be answering some questions here. I think we agree.
Yeah.
That's a weird number. What would be a not weird number?
I guess 100 would be normal. I would even think that's weird, but like
honest to
100
God-
just because hey, I just left you something, just whatever, just get food or whatever.
Honest to
That's
God,
what he said, though.
in my mind, it was for Mick to get lunch and dinner every day when he's there.
I
That's
sat there
literally
for 3
what I
days
left
wondering
the
what I
money
should
there.
do for it. I don't know.
What's that, Justin?
$50 a day is perfectly reasonable.
Thank you.
That's like a nice lunch and a nice dinner.
Al,
Yourself.
but Al, we don't do that sort of thing. Like if you were to do that for me, I wouldn't unless you were expecting it. I would give you money.
But it's not like you were just running over to that. You stayed at my house for 4. You stayed.
Kind of guy I am. I mean, people don't give me credit.
I
I'm a
think either
team
way,
guy.
he doesn't give you money. It's
Credit
not a
for
big deal.
what?
He
Thank
gives
you,
you money.
Justin.
It's not a big deal.
Exactly.
Credit for what?
I'm not a bad guy. Like I will help out my neighbor. I will. Like,
You
I
want
want
credit for staying at somebody's house?
No, but like you're like surprised that like I would do it for free. I guess.
Mick
So
said,
here's the thing, though, is that Mick wants to do it on his terms. And it's the same thing with like the wedding thing. Like, I want credit for doing this thing for you. I'm doing you a favor. So if it's that leaves it open to a lot of sensitivity, because then if you give him the wrong amount of money, now you are taking away the credit for him doing it for being a nice guy. But if it's not enough money, then you're devaluing him.
yes, but at the same time, because his brother always talks about how he's wasting his time doing a podcast, works in a seasonal job, schleps up and wastes his time with Kirk, and that he's a loser and needs to be like a real adult, Mick's going to see a pile of money there saying, oh, I see, they feel bad for me.
Right.
They're trying to give me money, give me gigs now, and with the wedding thing.
Right.
And because it's not, and it's coming from a bad nature place. He can feel his brother condescending and saying to his wife, let's give the loser a couple $100, and it'll help him out. He'll feel like he has purpose for a few days. It's so freaking condescending, because they
Talk about him.
Of course they talk about him. It's their
I
favorite
mean, Al
thing to do.
says he talks about him to their mom all the time,
Oh,
about like he's not
that's right.
taking his medications, he's doing this, he ate a cheeseburger,
totally.
this,
and now
that.
he and his wife, because look at all the trappings they have.
Oh yeah, they're
They
gonna have
got
a
house,
baby.
baby, adult stuff, and there's Mick single again, fucked up another relationship with a seemingly nice girl.
Christian's gonna kick him out any time when he gets a serious girlfriend. It's all like a whole thing. So yeah, you can definitely feel that Al is like looking down on where Mick
totally.
is in his life, and like obviously Mick feels it too.
Oh, totally. But Al, by the way, loves the heat. What Mick's brought to his life for being part of KMS. Al loves that.
Of course.
I was like, wow, I get to be kind of a star now. That's all Mick's doing.
Yeah.
Like, there's no star. If your brother's not nuts in creative, there's no like place for you. That's why Al was upset that he didn't get invited to when Kirk filmed the thing.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I was a little upset. It was like, Mick gets to have mixed things too, But
Yeah.
but Al probably feels like Mick can live this sedentary lifestyle because of Al in some way.
Right.
Like, I'm doing the right thing for him.
No one has said you're a bad guy.
I'm just saying people are surprised that I would do something for somebody without the benefit of
If
money.
I didn't
People are
leave you
not
any
surprised.
money, you would have 100% felt slighted and made something about
Al,
it.
I said to you, don't leave me money. This is what I feel like. I'm not crazy. I said, Al, don't leave me money. You left me money. And then I'm like, all right, well, why do you leave me money?
And I kind of just felt it was one of those things like, hey, yeah, you don't have to give me anything, but it's
just-
just the
you
right
just do
thing
it.
to do. Yeah.
Well, there's also something else, and I understand that these guys are younger than I. You don't have to, and this is where seeing the shrink would be good for Mick. You don't have to retaliate for every seeming strike that you feel Al has launched at you. You can holster those, and that's just Al. Okay, Al gets to condescend sometimes. It makes Al feel good. Fuck him.
Stays at your
When you
house
look at our
for 4
track record,
days.
Al, we've never done that.
Huh?
We've never done that sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. I can't remember a time you've house sat for me though.
All right.
That's just a thing you do too. Like let's say
Exactly.
But why not? What if he's just breaking tradition and doing something nice?
Right.
Like, why is the tradition of not doing things for each other have to be continued? Like, maybe you should do things for each other.
Because like he said, it's the first time he's...
Do you think he's sending you a message by sending a $200? When you look at those $200, what do you see?
Good question.
Like he said, it's the first time watching his new house. So I think
No, when
that's
you
part
walk in, you see $200. What goes to your mind right away?
why is there $200 on the table? Who's that for? And then I was like, oh, that's for me because it said Mick. And
Then what?
I didn't know. I really did. I didn't know why $200. That was my first thing. What a weird number.
Right.
And then I thought, I'm like, I told him not to leave me money. And then I wasn't like freaking out or anything. I asked Christian, I'm like, what should I do with this? He's like, just spend it. He didn't think anything of it.
Right.
Does $200 sound like a weird amount to anybody else in here?
I have to be honest, it doesn't.
Sounds
It's very nice.
generous, yeah.
I don't know.
Perfectly, like I would say it's in the like
What are
20
you
bucks.
sure?
would've been
He's an
weird.
asshole
I
for
mean,
doing
like,
it?
it's not, it's fine. It's fine.
It's fine. But I do think that one of the things happening here is that Al's whole existence is a message to Mick that he's fucking everything up. Look at this big house. I have a house, a family,
career.
dogs, a career, a title. These are all adult things happening, Mick, as he taps him on the head.
Mm-hmm.
Here, thanks. Maybe experiencing this for 4 days will inspire you to be more like me. Because me and Mom would like you to be more like me. And I think Mick picks up on all of these vibes everywhere.
Yeah.
He is the most... Mick will never... A sniper will never successfully shoot Mick in the head because he is looking for them constantly.
Right. Head on a swivel.
So I think part of my issue too is like Mick says he wants to be this podcast star and he wants to take beyond average.
See the way he says that? He wants to be this podcast star, like, quotes, like dismissive as shit about the thing that Mick loves.
When did Mick say this?
But he's kind of just turned into another show that talks about your show. Ooh. So I don't know where the trajectory is. Or
trajectory.
Yeah, excuse me, whatever. I'm not even.
So first he sucks. Now, okay, fine, you're doing a show, but you just sound like everybody else's.
Yeah.
It's not special. It's like, Jesus, Al, be more of a motherfucker to your brother. God, it's so ridiculously passive aggressive. It is.
Yeah.
It's such a big, like, fuck you to the thing you love. And okay, we're going to hit the shrink stuff in a second.
But where is the pathway now if you're just going to be another show that talks about Kirk when there's 10 other?
Fair point, Al. I think...
no, it's not a fair point. You don't have to give him that one. No, Mick does whatever the fuck he wants to.
I feel like Mick is saying fair point with Malice.
Oh, you do?
Kind of.
I see. There's a lot of subliminal fuck yous going back and forth in this room.
I think we do have to expand it a little bit more. I think we're going to do more audio episodes, not talking KMS. But yeah, thanks for your concern there about me being a big podcaster.
Excellent program. Check it out. Subscribe 5 stars.
I mean, you're the biggest hater in the history of the show. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like that's not the case.
Well, go ahead. I want to hear about this. Go ahead.
He's never supported anything to do with my podcast before KMS.
Oh, I think about Mike.
And here's another thing. Mick does not owe him an explanation for that podcast. Mick does the talking that makes the show go. He owes nobody. If he wants to talk about KMS or talk about freaking going to Cancun or whatever, he should be able to do whatever the hell he wants. Whatever the hell he wants. I want to hit the Cancun before we do the therapy. A little bit more about Cancun.
I'm sure she's enjoying yoga class right now.
In Cancun?
Yeah.
She in Cancun?
Yep.
She's still there.
This is Al's biggest motherfucker moment.
Mm-hmm.
This is a bad brother thing to do, man. Oh, you fucker, dude. He tries to fucking blow him up in the place that Mick loves, to the audience he loves, tries to whole cloth fucking humiliate him. In real life humiliation.
Oh, yeah.
You should get pork there or
No.
no?
But, no, I don't think so.
God.
You can send her the gift card?
I thought about that. I don't know.
Of course you should, yeah.
I think what I'll do is next time I go into the restaurant that she works at, I'll bring it.
Don't go to the restaurant she works.
Why are you
don't
going
go.
there?
Well,
Next time. Don't.
like eventually. Like it's part of the mall though, so that's why.
Yep.
So maybe if I'm
Oh, I got you. Yeah. I got you. Well, it's too bad.
There's a lot of restaurants out there.
that's true.
Yes.
Yeah. So you 100% never getting back together.
No, 0% chance. This is the second time this real breakup has happened, and
Okay.
this is it.
Can I interject for a second?
Of course you can now. Yes.
I'd love to
You're
hear
here.
you.
I think you're being serious.
Prick.
Do you actually think she's in Cancun still?
What are you talking about?
I saw her like yesterday.
I know.
Ooh.
I know.
Okay.
Well, I thought you said she was in Cancun still.
It's Tuesday, right?
Oh, Jesus.
What are you talking about, man?
Maybe got back yesterday.
Okay. All right. I didn't know if she was telling
You
you
saw
that
her
she was
yesterday?
there. Yeah, like driving her. She lives in the same town.
Are you
Saw her
sure? it was
driving
her?
around. Yeah, I mean, red car, looked just like her.
Maybe. I don't
She
know.
by herself?
I didn't know if she was like telling you that she was in Cancun still.
No, I haven't
Okay, all
talked
right,
to her.
gotcha.
Thanks for looking out, though. Al.
Sorry, guys.
Oh, well, I mean,
So Al thought there was a possibility that she was lying to Mick about his whereabouts because she's banging somebody else in town.
Right.
And he was thrilled to be
He
able
didn't
to
call up Mick when he saw her
No.
in town and tell him this information.
He was thrilled to break this wide open right now while Mick's sitting there. This is a girlfriend of 7 years. There's a lot of emotion packed in, into this relationship. 7 years, his whole 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And his brother decides to try to blow him up just to get a little high on the KMS show. Blow up his family right there. To me, that's a felony. That's a bad one. And it plays right into Al being more sinister than Mick.
Mm-hmm.
Which brings us to the therapy. And it brings me to your theory on this stuff.
I'm a huge therapy guy.
Not for you?
Al, go you therapy?
Oh God, I've been in therapy for years.
This is crazy. I didn't know this.
Yep.
See, I didn't even know this.
Yep.
He seems like he's been to therapy and you have not.
I don't believe this.
If you're watching or listening to the show later,
I don't believe this at all.
Al sounds like what you
He's
do when
lying.
you have therapy.
He's lying. He's lying right now.
We'll get to it after the
never
break,
been
okay?
to
By the way, I've added this cut a little bit just because there's a live read in there.
Well, okay. You think Al's lying?
You're a big therapy guy?
Oh yeah, I go once a month now. I used to go once a week, but
Once a
years
month,
now.
I don't know if that's a big therapy.
Years he's been going.
Years, 5, 6 at least.
Good for you. That's good.
By the way, that's another cheap ass. What he's doing is Al is
I'm responsible. I'm taking.
well, not only that, but that's Kirk East.
right.
When you're talking therapy, that's Kirk. We'll talk all about this. He's been very public about therapy, etc. So Al's saying he never bothered to tell Mick any of this stuff,
Right.
but happy to tell Kirk.
Right.
Hey, by the way, I'm like you. So he's trying out for some kind of permanency in this world.
Right. He wants validation from Kirk that he's the better brother.
Well, right, and more valuable as a Minifan and a friend of the show.
You don't believe him?
Skeptical on once a month. Yeah.
Why
I
is that?
have to get my medication refilled.
Okay.
He's on medication. You know that?
No.
Maybe if he trusted you more, he'd tell you these things. Maybe you should
No,
look.
because that's personal. If he doesn't want to tell me that, I was surprised. Did you hear my reaction? I didn't know.
You say he was lying.
Oh,
That was your first reaction.
The look he was giving was a little. I think once he said big therapy guy, I think he wanted to walk that one back.
I went once a week for years, and now I go once a month. Yeah, I don't go every day. You're right.
Okay. So, Alice, what's the key to Al?
That he's been medicated.
Yeah,
now?
say it like you said
So,
last night. Or whatever that was.
I don't know how I said it last night. I just think that that's like why he's so like even keel and chill and whatever. But he clearly like it's allowing him to like better conceal than Mick that he's like their issues together basically. So which you could say that's good or bad, like, but
Right. But
he's not less angry or screwed up than Mick is. He's
Correct.
just
he's shielding, he's masking it. With
yeah.
whatever there is, he's absolutely.
Which, like, I do wonder if the wife is behind it.
Yes, I think probably yes.
Because if he was more like Mick before, potentially, and she encouraged him to like go like medicate it down. I also thought it was interesting that Mick said that he left the grill on for like an entire day recently.
That Mick did, or that Al
Mick
did?
said Al did.
I don't remember that really.
Yeah, when they were talking about who would be better watching the baby.
Oh wow, I'd forgotten that. Wow.
So
Well, I mean, the grill is outside. So, by the way, I've certainly done that. Other people have done that. You leave the grill on after you're done grilling.
usually, I mean, yeah.
No, you're going to say if trashed. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that I usually leave the grill on outside to clean it a little bit.
Burn off anything.
Burn off stuff, yeah. And we've all done stuff, and then the next morning, like, we're out of propane. Here's another thing about and I agree. I didn't sense any consternation about Al's wife, from Mick, and he doesn't hide it well if he has a problem with somebody. So I didn't sense that, but I definitely think she's a driving force to, okay, buddy, you're not going to be like your brother Mick. We're getting the house. We've got the dogs. We're doing the baby thing. Alice, what are the percentage chances that this time next year that snake will be in that house?
0.
That's correct. That snake is going away, Al, and I hate to tell you, and she may say it was by mistake, but that dude is getting chucked. We have seen way too many people who suddenly have kids and the pets go a-missing. Shock, sadly.
What are the chances that Al's wife is also on medication?
I don't know her. Well, the medicators tend to like to. I don't know. What is your observation on this?
I think that a huge percentage of women in their like 20s, 30s are on medication.
Yeah, I guess so. If everybody else is, then
I mean, I feel like everyone I know
everyone
is.
else is. I mean, pretty much. Pretty much.
Yeah, and if they're like a medication family and a therapy family, which I feel like you kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, like I've told people.
You either like both sign on to it or not. I don't know.
Not everybody can be a perfect couple like us, Alice, without any
know.
problems, you know. But no,
I
when
know,
we
but
had-
I do feel like it's interesting because we have done literally like couples therapy. We've
Yes.
been through it. And I thought it was funny too how like Mick almost wants to be in couples therapy with Al. Like,
totally.
you know how there's in couples therapy, there's always the urge to like win the therapist to your side. Mick wants to win the therapist and he's like not even there. It's not even
it
his
was one of his
therapist.
best
He's like, well, what
lines.
are you telling the therapist about me?
Oh, yeah. He said, I'm sure he's telling him that. It was one of his best lines. I looked for it. I couldn't find it today. But yeah, and we were doing that same thing. I remember complaining to you. It's like, maybe you can like spend a little more time talking to the therapist about how you're fucked up and a little less time talking about like what an a-hole I am.
Right.
Spend a little bit of time fixing you, which is not
That's like
uncommon.
classic couples therapy. It's like
Oh, yeah.
trying to win the therapist.
Oh yeah, but and then she separated us. It was very
Yeah.
interesting. We would have some sessions together, and then one person would go out in the car for 45 minutes and talk. This is all from BetterHelp, as a matter of fact. And then the other person would go out in the car for 45 minutes. It was a really fun time, I got to say. Holy Christ! But yeah, things are going to change. And I do think also that Al's going to have less time to play these head games with Mick once his baby's on the scene. All this horse shit is gone. Like, once the kid's on the scene. Oh, I want to play one more cut. This
Okay.
is Mick's finest moment. Of many fine moments. This is Mick's finest moment. This is why guy needs to keep pushing the podcast.
For one, you don't follow any of the guidelines that somebody for
How
Crohn
the
should.
first of all, how the fuck?
I
would
find it
you-
interesting.
Because I see your diet, I know what
So
you eat.
no, I'm saying, how would you know any guidelines?
Because it's just simple. It's just like you don't eat shitty food if you have Crohn's.
So because I have a cheeseburger, I deserve to have an autoimmune disease?
No, I'm not saying you deserve anything. But when was the last time you went in to? When was the last time you went in to see your doctor?
Bravo.